Many of you watching this video haven't filed your taxes. Maybe you haven't filed your taxes in many years, and you're missing out on a lot of credits, available free money to you. Now you might be thinking, well, Adam, I have filed my taxes. I am on track, but are you doing it the right way? And as you head up into retirement, what are some tips and tricks? We'll share those with you later in this video. The 2024 federal budget recently talked about having an automated tax filing service. And why is this important to many of you? The reality is a lot of you don't file taxes, and there's different reasons for that. Maybe you have a little amount of income. Maybe you're not owing anything and it's a small amount of refund, so it's not worth filing. But because you aren't filing your tax returns, you're losing out on a potentially large amount of credits and benefits. Because in order to receive a lot of these credits and benefits, you need to make sure that you're doing a tax return because it's based off of your income. Automatic tax filing is already in other countries like Australia and New Zealand and others. But what Canada is looking to do is basically an automatic tax filing system in that they would provide a tax return based on the information slips they receive from investment companies and what forth. They would file the return and then give the individual a chance to add any credits like medical expenses or anything else to adjust the return for the final filing. While this sounds really good, and I think it would be really good, this was tabled back in 2020 and has never been rolled out. So hopefully going forward for 2024, this does actually get implemented. Now, in the meantime, what can you do and how can you get back on track for taxes? Now, again, if you haven't filed your taxes, and especially if you're low income, which is a lot of people that don't file their taxes, you're missing out on credit. So what are a few free resources? And Canada.ca, and we'll link this below, offers a few free tax return services. Wealthsimple Tax is one of them. You have TurboTax, Studio Tax, there's many. There's a whole list of them. Again, we'll link that below, check that out. And those are free tax filing services. And again, these free services are typically made for the most basic tax returns. And I think a lot of you that aren't filing probably have fairly basic tax returns. So these services, may check the box for you until there's an automatic filing system done by CRA. As I mentioned, the federal government heavily relies on CRA for some of the credits and benefits we have access to, like the GST tax credit, the Canadian housing credit benefit. There's a lot out there that rely on CRA, and that's why it's so important for you to file taxes. Now, if you're someone that is filing taxes and you're getting close to retirement, I want to give you a few tips that might help you because a lot of you are probably filing your own taxes. And as you ramp up to retirement and you have a paycheck and your taxes are fairly basic and you kind of have a rhythm to it, one of the main questions I get asked as people head into retirement is, Adam, I've filed my taxes myself for many years. Is it going to be a lot different, in the first 1, 2, 3 years of retirement and moving forward? And the answer is yes, absolutely it will be, because you move from typically one T4 slip, right? You have one income source. You might have a few deductions in there, but it's, again, a very basic return. When you hit retirement, you're going to have a multitude of income streams, a multitude of withholding taxes. There's a lot more moving parts. And so my recommendation to you would be to find an accountant in your area, CPA, that can file your tax return in retirement, at least in the first 1, 2, or 3 years. Get a handle on what it looks like. If you feel comfortable past that 2 or 3 year mark to do it yourself because you have an idea, what your slips are now, what it looks like, where to file it, what the credits are, like pension income splitting, all these things encompass into your tax planning, then sure, take it back, do it yourself. But I really do encourage you. It's going to save you a lot of headache, and a lot of you that continue to file on your own as your role completely changes and your income completely changes as you walk into retirement, you're missing out on a lot of credits and benefits. A CPA, while they do your taxes, they'll also be able to see other things in the background that might not be working well together and raise those out to you. So if your financial planner is not doing it, or you don't have a financial planner, your CPA should be able to see certain things, income sources, tax issues that they will bring to light so that you can correct those moving forward. A lot of you guys bypass a financial planner, you bypass planning, and you do investments and you do tax returns. And you're missing this middle ground. So I encourage you, find a CFP for the planning. Find a CPA to file your taxes, especially in those first 2 years of retirement, to get a good handle on what new credits are available to you. How do you income split? How do you file your taxes? What kind of slips do you have? There's a lot of these things, and it does change a lot as you enter into retirement. So how many of you aren't filing taxes? Well, there's some data out there from 2020 that says about 10 to 12% of you are not filing your taxes on an annual basis, which is a really big percentage. And if you want to know the repercussions of that 10 to 12%, it said there's about 1.7 billion, with a B, billion dollars of credits and benefits that have not been claimed because you haven't filed your taxes. That's a lot of money that a lot of you are missing out on. The other aspect and benefit of filing your taxes, especially if you're a lower income earner, and again, if you're watching this and you're a lower income earner and you haven't filed your taxes, this is me pleading to you to go file your taxes, get back on track. You might think you owe a big tax bill. Like, talk to a professional, get some help, get this done, or just do it yourself. It's very basic. Again, we'll link those free tax services below. But for a lot of you, when you hit low income thresholds, there's a lot of support and services, free services to you to lean into. Some of this is free financial planning, free tax return stuff, free services, healthcare services, all this. There's a lot of benefits that you're missing out on, both financially and just support benefits. So for those of you that have been filing and are up to date on filing, good for you. Congratulations, that's what you should be doing. But as you get closer to retirement, you want to assess your tax situation. If you have a basic tax return, doing that filing on your own is fairly simple. But as your world gets more complicated, you're going to want to bring in a professional. Now, I'll say this. A lot of CPA firms, especially locally here in BC, and I'm sure it's like this across the country, a lot of CPA firms are moving to corporations only. I know the CPA firm I use, they will do my personal tax return, but only because I have a corporation and I do my corporate taxes there. And most larger, even mid-sized CPA firms are transitioning more to corporate returns, less personal returns. So you're going to have a tougher time finding that CPA to do your personal tax. I encourage you to interview a few of them, find a right fit for you, make sure they do personal taxes and that's something that they focus on so that they're not missing those credits and benefits that are important to you, A, getting more money back, and just B, getting back on track with your filing.